Welcome, welcome. So, okay, well, I'm going to do a screen share, and there we go. Share. We'll see how this works. It's hard to. I'm going to try to move the computer a little closer. Okay. So, the main reason I put this up is because during our our virtual Zendo this morning, where I was meditating on Zoom with I don't know, about 20 other people, and from all over the world. And one man who's in Dubai says, he said, enjoy your debate tonight. And then he said, remember, it could be worse. You could be ruled by the English. So, anyway, so it should be an interesting evening. And speaking of polarization, this weekend I listened to a what was called the Global Trauma Summit, um, sort of founded by Thomas Hubel, and he was talking to a man named Srini Pillai, who is a neuroscientist, a psychiatrist, and also a musician. And he was talking about polarization and how if we keep talking about our problems over and over and over again, he said he likened it to he called it hippocampal hammering. Uh, the hippocampus is the memory center, and it's like we're hammering that problem into our memory. I really love the way he put it. Anyway, that when we talk about our problems, that it's really important to talk to them, to talk about also the solution in the same, to have a sense of that so that they're really one, so that they're always in a dialogue with each other. Um, so it's really about keeping our hearts open. Speaking of which, I do want to share. In fact, I think what I'll do is stop the screen sharing for a moment, and so I can see everybody, and and just share with you another thing that he said that I thought was just uh, really adorable. Anyway, and about connection and interconnection and interpenetration, and like what he said is so as I see you on the screen and you see me, so um, I have to see that in my retina, but if for me to see it, then it has to be in my occipital cortex. So then, therefore, it means that you're in my brain. And if you, for example, I see Aline smiling, and that causes me to have a feeling. So that feeling shows up in my amygdala. So then the next question is, so you're in my brain, you're in my retina and my occipital cortex, my amygdala. He said, but then the amygdala has a circuit that goes down the back of my neck into the rest of my body. So you're inside my body. And then it's like, so where are you? Are you on the screen or are you on my right hand? Or, so I just love that. So we're all inside each other. Just absolutely delights me. So anyway, I wanted to share that with you. How, and because it's really true, and that, you know, then use your voice and all, so then it becomes multidimensional. So it's multidimensional and non-local, and we're are all inside each other. I mean, it's just adorable. Anyway, and we thought we were separate. We're not. Anyway, I'm going to go back to screen sharing. So together we can learn and practice. So, um, so I want today. What I'm going to talk about is clearing a space and finding a felt sense of the present moment. We will, and part of the clearing a space is, could be called an acceptance practice. So, so I thought I would share with you 4 different studies that talk about mindfulness and acceptance. So mindfulness has pretty much like two components. One is we're monitoring our attention, and we're also practicing non-judgmental awareness, which means acceptance. So all these studies were published in the National Institute of Health on their website. So the first one, called Brief Mindfulness Meditation Training Reduces Mind Wandering. So it was only a 15-lesson smartphone-based intervention. I'll just talk about this one in terms of how they did it. They had 153 stressed adults, and they randomly assigned them to one of three different interventions. One was training in both monitoring the attention and acceptance, so monitoring acceptance. And the other was training in just monitoring only, just paying attention to where your attention was. And the third was just an active control group where they gave them concepts about coping. So what the results to that was, or that study, was that the attention and monitoring, so monitoring and acceptance training, they had the lowest amount of mind wandering. They had reduced cortisol, their blood pressure was lower, and compared to the other two. Okay. And the second study is how mindfulness training promotes positive emotions. Again, dismantling the acceptance skills training it was in two studies. So the results of that study was that acceptance toward the present moment experience is central to the mechanism of mindfulness. So it's, again, about acceptance towards what's happening right now. And it's also boosted positive emotions in daily life. The third one, again, mindfulness, acceptance, and emotion regulation. That was, again, and now they've got a theory of it, monitor and acceptance theory. So the result of that was removing the acceptance training from mindfulness intervention reduces their efficacy for improving stress, okay, and for positive emotion. And so again, their results were acceptance is critical in emotional regulation, and that just makes sense too. And the fourth one and last one is mindfulness training reduces loneliness and increases social contact in a randomized controlled trial. As they say, loneliness and social isolation, even before COVID, was considered a public health concern and growing. And what they found is that there is accumulating evidence that mindfulness interventions can improve that. And what happens is that by accepting the feelings of loneliness and social disconnect allows us to have some emotional balance towards it. And then they found that also made people feel less lonely, and they actually reached out and had more engagement with other people in daily life. So, acceptance. And so we're going to practice in a minute, and some of us have all done the clearing of space exercise, but excuse me, I wanted to go just to make more of a sort of a description of and more outline of exactly what clearing of space is and what it can do for us. So first off, as I said, it can be an acceptance practice. So it allows us to engage with our issues but not become consumed by them or get overwhelmed by them. Although if we get overwhelmed, the more we practice, then we can step out of it much more quickly because we're mindful of what we're experiencing. So let me just define stress for a moment. Any factor that places demands on the individual's ability to adapt. So how do we carry stress? We carry it in our body, right? We may carry it in our thoughts too, but even our emotions are going to show up in our body. So that could be tightness in our shoulders, butterflies in our stomachs, or we could have a generalized agitation or fear. The problem with that is if the fear or agitation is generalized and we try to concentrate on what we're doing, it makes it a lot harder. And what happens is if we actually try to suppress it and turn away from it, even though we're not focused on it, I just got distracted. Sorry, hummingbirds are still here, and I thought for sure they were gone. I just saw a hummingbird outside. Anyway, as you can see, I'm very connected to nature. But if we turn away from the stress, that the body will often retain that agitation. So we've got that which gets in the way of being able to concentrate. So in clearing a space, what we do is attend to how the body is carrying the stress, and then one by one, we place mentally all about that one outside, or the concern about it. Okay. And the specificity of it allows us to then relax that body part that's holding that tightness that's attached to each of the issues. And it's also clearing a space can also be very helpful when we can't find any other way to relax. You could be watching TV thinking I'm going to relax in front of the TV, but you're still carrying attention. So it teaches us to name and relate to each issue without trying to solve it. That's the acceptance part. Okay. So we take an inventory of what's in the way of either feeling present to the moment or whatever task we have to do, or what's in the way of our happiness. And that's what we'll be doing in a minute. So once we do that, we discover how it would be if all those impediments to our happiness were removed. So if there are any questions about clearing a space, why we're doing it, what you can get out of it at all. Okay, and if not, then we can do a guided clearing a space and a guided practice. Okay, so I'm going to start because we'll do coming into the body first too. All right. And I'll start by ringing the bell. So you may want to get yourself into a comfortable position. Maybe turn the lights in your room down low. Make sure everybody has themselves, Robert, put yourself on mute. So we make sure everybody's on mute. So turn off the speakers so that we have no background noise. And you can, and if you feel more comfortable turning off the camera, do that. It's up to you, whatever feels right. Okay. So we first want to begin to turn our attention inward and turn it towards the body. You may feel like you need to stretch your limbs or wiggle your toes, or even loosen up your whole body. Whatever you need to do, get yourself into a comfortable position. Sensing the position of your body. Aware of your seat, how the body is being supported by whatever you're sitting on. And just being open and sensitive to any sounds from the environment. Even the background noise that we usually don't notice. You could note the sounds with a simple mental label like traffic noise or refrigerator hum. Just trying not, though, to enter a discursive thought process. Just label it when you're aware of it, and then let it go. So at the same time, try to notice the larger quality of silence that surrounds whatever you hear. Sort of experiencing the present sense of presence. Simply here, alive, breathing, feeling, experiencing. As your basic existence is happening right now. You may want to softly repeat the word present. Or you might use the word aware. So letting your attention now, see if you can expand it to encompass your whole body. Finding a word that describes how you're feeling right now, your felt sense of this very present moment. Virginia, Virginia, you need to mute yourself, please. Turn off your speaker. Thank you. Technology. So, now, aware, present. So let's recognize the landscape of what's between ourself and feeling perfectly all fine or feeling happy. Consider everything in your life that's changing right now. What's falling away? What's calling you forward? And if you could name just one thing that's between you and feeling really happy, what would that be? And then imagine that you say hello to it. You let it know you see it. Sort of there you are. And notice how it feels in your body to have that particular thing that's in the way of feeling really happy. Notice how it feels. And then imagine that you're placing your concern for it to the side. Not that the issue goes away, but you're concerned for it. You're putting it to the periphery. Finding the best place for it, either right next to you, perhaps in a suit of luggage, or maybe in some boxes on the far side of the room, but not so far that you can't pay attention to it later. Just put it away for now. And then again, ask the question, what's between me and feeling really good right now, or feeling happy? And then again, set it aside, your concern for it, set that aside. You may want to give it a label or a number so that you can remember what it is. And just keep repeating that process where asking, is there anything else between me and feeling really good right now? And then just setting it aside or setting it down. And if something keeps wanting your attention, you could ask, or promise it that you'll come back to it later. And see if that helps to set it aside. Just again, keep repeating, acknowledging whatever is between myself and feeling perfectly all good or all fine. Just setting them all aside. And once you've set down 10, maybe 10 to 12 things, begin to notice if perhaps you're carrying some kind of background feeling, a feeling that's always there in the background, a feeling of maybe always rushing or having to get things done, or a feeling of sadness or anxiety, any kind of background feeling that when you relax, it's always kind of there. And see if you can set that background feeling aside for now, knowing that it's just habit. You can always pick it up later. Setting it aside. And then take a moment to view all of the issues, problems, projects, concerns that you've set aside. And notice which one has the most energy. Because we'll be picking it up again later. So notice which one has the most energy. That would be the one that you want to pick up later. Someone does not have on their, someone else needs to turn off their speakers because we're hearing a phone ringing. Thank you. See if I can find out who that is. I'm going to stop the share. Looks like everybody's muted right now, so that's good. Okay, I'm going to go back to sharing the screen. In fact, maybe.
Carol is not muted.
Pardon me?
Carol is not muted.
Carol, that's who it is. Carol, thank you for noticing, Eileen. Yeah, so maybe we'll gather together again, just in case there's any questions about that particular exercise or practice? If there's a question, you can raise your hand and I'll. Virginia?
When you talked about underlying
Yes.
emotions and that, I feel an underlying sadness
Mhm.
for so many things that have happened in this last year.
Yes.
And I don't know how to turn that off.
Uh-huh. Did you
My
see?
husband passed away, and several very dear friends, and my very dear friend and neighbor of over 70 years. And it's just like there's so many losses.
Yes, yes. And consider being able to just take a break from it for a moment. In other words, if you can ask the sense of loss, if I can set aside that feeling of loss for just for right now, um, and just see if that's possible, of just setting it aside, knowing that you can pick it back up later, that it's going to be there.
I don't know how to do that.
Yeah. It's kind of like getting into a dialogue with it, and then asking it, is it okay for me to set you aside right now? And then watch what happens. In other words, you sit back and wait without knowing the answer, because part of you is saying, it's big and it's sort of all encompassing and I don't know how. So ask it. And then also to ask it, what is the message that it wants to give you? Again, you're in a dialogue with it because it's there, it's part of you. So to do that with a gentleness and also an openness. Because what I hear you saying is that there's a background feeling of sadness that's kind of always there. So no matter what's going on, when you stop focusing on other things, the sadness comes into your awareness.
Yes.
Is that right? Yeah. So, yeah. And at this point, the only other thing I would suggest, and then we're going to work with that. Well, I think that would be the thing that you would work with, is this background feeling of sadness when we pick it back up later. The other thing to mention is this, and you might want to check out Peter Levine in his book, I think it's called Waking the Tiger, and he talks about how did he put it? Zebras are not neurotic or don't become neurotic because uh, he said if you watch an animal in the wild, if let's say a tiger comes to eat the animal is in some way either it's going to go into freeze or it's going to flee. So it's running, and then it gets away, and then it stops. And if you watch the animal, there's videos of this. If you watch the animal, it will then shake. It will just start shaking and vibrating like so, okay? And that's why they don't end up like us humans, neurotic, because it lets it go, because it's letting go of that energy, okay? In fact, this morning when I was meditating, my mind was very busy planning today what I'm going to talk about. Tuesday mornings meditations are really hard for me because my mind is always like, what am I going to talk about in class later today? And so the mind is busy. And so I decided I would try it. And it was kind of hard to do because I didn't want anybody to see me vibrating. So I had to do it without people real. So I thought, well, maybe I can vibrate the bottom, just my legs and my butt. So anyway, just as a way to kind of let go of all the busy chatter in my mind so that I could be here now and focus on actually not wasting my time in meditation. Anyway, and it did help. So, you could try that. It's just that, like, vibrating your body. There's even classes that they take where they put people lying on your back and you lift your butt up off the ground. Your feet are still on the ground and the butt comes up, and then after a while you start vibrating anyway, shaking, because it's hard to hold up, stay up. And the whole idea is they do it in war-torn zones, especially with children. So anyway, this vibrating is really a way to discharge that energy. And so that's only a suggestion that you might want to try too. It's how can I just vibrate and shake it off, like that kind of deep sigh.
Try.
Yeah, yeah. So, and if you start vibrating, it'll be okay. I promise it's okay to do that here. Anyway, so then what we're going to do next then is to get a felt sense of the issue and work with it and actually do the dialogue. So, but I want to talk about what a felt sense is. So I'm going to screen share again. Let's see, where is it? Is that it? There it is. Okay. So, this is just about, I guess what I wanted to say about the clearing of space. If we can actually clear the space from all of our issues, in other words, our concern for them, and set them aside, including any background feelings, then we can sit in that cleared space, which, I would describe that as being enlightened. Because what's pure, perfect happiness? Happiness is having no desire, not wanting anything, because you're just satisfied with this moment. I remember a story about a nun who was lying on her deathbed, and they asked her, do you need anything? And her response was, thank you, I have no complaints. So I hope when I die I have that. So that's what happiness is, though. It's without, we don't need anything. We don't want anything else. We're satisfied with this moment. So doing the clearing of space, we get to actually sit in that clear space for a while. So even if you can't find the clear space today, it's really a wonderful practice to keep doing until you do find that clear space. Because, and that's, in other words, what's happening, what that shows us is that what's happening is not important. It's how we are relating to what's happening that's important. Okay. So what is a felt sense? Right? It's more than just an emotion. We usually ignore it because it's kind of usually unclear and fuzzy. Okay. And it's like when we have butterflies in our stomach, or a frog in your throat when you have to speak to a large group, that kind of thing. So what we do is we get a felt sense of a situation, a problem, a project, a creative project we're on, whatever that is, and then we enter into the dialogue with the felt sense until it comes into focus. Hence, it's called the focusing process. So I'll give you some examples. Let's see if I have them here. Yeah. So imagine, this would be 2 examples of a felt sense. Imagine that you're at a party and you spot someone. This has to be pre-COVID because they won't have a mask on. Anyway, someone that you have, quote, a bit of history with, and just notice how if you were at that party and you had somebody that maybe, you didn't really like all that much, just notice how that would feel, especially if you had some kind of conflict with them. You might notice some butterflies or, have some vague memories of what went on. So there'd be a mixture of things, and that mixture of things would be the felt sense of that person. And the second example is, let's say you're taking a walk on a beautiful, fresh morning, and it's just after a rainstorm, and you come up over a hill, and there, hanging in front of you, is a perfect rainbow. So as you stand there and gaze at it, you feel your chest welling up with an expansive, flowing, warm feeling. So that feeling is also a felt sense. And I just decided to put this in for those of you who weren't able to imagine a rainbow. I thought I'd give you a beautiful rainbow. So, so what we want to do, so we want to find a felt sense. And how do you find one? First off, why do we want to find it? Okay, because it helps us become clear on what the next step forward in whatever the issue or the problem or the project is. It also helps us to make clear decisions, and it's also a way of knowing ourselves deeply and accepting ourselves as we truly are in the moment. So after we do a little practice of it, maybe just before, I will just speak from my felt sense. Okay, but I'll do that in a minute. So how do we find it? So we bring a gentle mindfulness to our body sensations, and then we wait. And Ann Weiser Cornell, she has a website which I highly recommend called Focusing Resources. Yeah, Focusing Resources. Anyway, she says that waiting is like when you meet a friend at a restaurant who's not there yet, you just sit and wait. So it's that allowing yourself to wait, not knowing what the answer is, and just wait until a symbol or an image or something will come. So it's almost like having the faith that something will come. And usually within, 30 seconds to a minute, something comes. Okay. And it may not be the whole answer, but it'll give you a piece to the puzzle. So we're going to practice now, finding a felt sense. Unless there's any questions, and if there is, you'll have to unmute and say something because I'm going to leave this slide up. I'll give you another second. So first we'll start with an exercise of what it's like to find a felt sense so you can really get more clarity about what a felt sense is. Okay. All right. Okay, I guess there's no questions. Make sure you are muted, please. And again, those of you who want to turn off your camera, or because we're going to be doing something where we're going inside. Or turn down the lights in your room. So what we'll be doing is entering inside your body's knowing. And we'll be using 3 short exercises to help you begin noticing some of the important feelings that would come up. And it's not just feelings, though. It's more than just feelings. So let's start with the first exercise. Imagine that someone you deeply love and care for is waiting to see you. And in a few moments, you're going to meet with him or her. And let yourself notice how you carry inside yourself the body feel of that person, the sound of their voice, the image of their face, their smile, the smell, little idiosyncrasies, their touch, their hair. And then take a few moments to notice where in your body you seem most strongly to carry this person. And if nothing really shows up, you may ask yourself, is it in my chest? In my solar plexus? Is it in my face? Or is it all over? Just noticing where in your body you carry a felt sense of this person. And then find a word or an image or a memory that connects with or is best expresses your body's sense of this person. Something that would help you to return to it later. And now, the second exercise, we'll try something different. Imagine that as soon as you completed this exercise, you have to go and meet the most difficult person in your life. Someone who's maybe hurt you or that you feel hurt someone you love. Just imagine that that person, he or she is nearby, and that the confrontation will occur very soon. And close your eyes and notice what's happening in your body right now. Asking yourself, how is my body carrying this difficult person inside? In other words, asking where do I most notice this feeling of this person? Do I feel them in my chest, my solar plexus, throat, all over? Where do I, in my body, do I carry my felt sense of this person? That would include any emotions you have about the person and all the memories. And then you can ask yourself also, is there any word or image or memory that comes that best expresses how my body carries this person, this relationship? Letting whatever words or images or memory come, anything that expresses it. And then take a moment to notice the difference between how your body carries the person you love and how your body carries the person who has been hurtful in some way. You may notice a story showing up that has a meaning or a message. Just getting a sense of how you carry this person or both of those people. How your body's carrying them. And now that you have kind of a sense of what it is to have a felt sense of a person, perhaps picking up the issue or a project or concern that you set down earlier when we were clearing a space. And then asking it if it's okay to be with it, or asking yourself first, is it okay to be with it right now? And if your body tenses up, you may want to pick something different. But if the body kind of relaxes a little, or if nothing happens, then you could pick it up. It's the one that had the most energy. And then imagine that you're entering a dialogue with it. First, just saying hello. acknowledging that it's there, or that it's here in your awareness. Just sitting with it. And in fact, before you start the dialogue, to ask it if it's okay, to ask it some questions. And you might notice that it gets either more intense, which means probably it's ready for you to ask questions, or it fades away, which means then that you need to just be with it without asking anything. As a way just to get to know that issue better, get to know your felt sense of that issue, getting to know the felt sense. And also assuring it that you won't ask the questions. You'll just be there for it, since it is a part of you. And you might ask it what it needs from you right now. What do you need from me right now? Noticing again if it gets more intense or if it gets faded. That's an issue, that's an indication that it just wants you to just be with it without trying to manipulate it at all. But if it does get a little more intense, then asking it, what message does it have for you? Or what does it need from you right now? Or what does it want you to know right now? One of those questions will feel right. And if nothing happens in response, then that's either a no, or again, it's an invitation to just be with it. Again, getting to know it with a sense of acceptance. Acknowledging, I see you, you're here. But that waiting, what do I need to know right now? Or how do I need to carry you? And then you wait without knowing the answer until symbol or words come in to meet that felt sense. And you'll know if it's right because the body will begin to relax. A symbol may show up. And if the body relaxes, then that's the right one. An image or a gesture, something that matches, that describes this issue or this project. And you might ask your body, how can I carry this issue so that I can learn more from it later? Or this project. What do I need to know? And how can I carry it? So that I can pick it up later. Making sure that you found some way to describe it. A word, an image, a gesture. It could be a memory of a movie or a place. some way that you can always come back to it if you need to, if you're not finished with it yet. And then asking it if you can set it aside for now, if it's not finished. Promising it that you'll come back to it later. And bringing your attention now back into your body. You may want to do a little vibration to shake off if there's any sort of residue feelings. And to orient to your environment, just looking around, perhaps looking for all the colors of green or objects that you care about in the room that you're in. And then bringing your attention back to the group. So anybody want to share how that exercise was for you? Any questions about Aline?
It was very powerful. In December, a little after Christmas, this noise started, and I was sure it was the house, but it turned out that this noise goes on in my head, and it's been going on so what came up, the people, the first and the second, were both my deceased husband. And the felt sense was fear. And the sound is an expression of that fear.
Yes, that makes sense.
And during the meditation, the sound drifted away. And right now I hear it, but it's way in the background. It's not so present. So thank you. That was quite an experience.
So what I hear is you were able to really be with it, and the sense of fear, it would be more than just the emotion of fear, though. It's bigger, is what I sense. And you had an image of Bill, of your husband. So it was a felt sense of him, but there's also this fear. So there's a lot in there, and my sense is that clearly more. Yet when you focused on it, it receded. Yeah. So to pay attention to it, which is a really great example of if we pay attention to whatever is we don't really want to pay attention to.
I'm sorry, say that again. If we pay attention.
Yeah, it gets smaller. Thank you. Thank you, Aline, for sharing that. And I would come back to that again if I were you.
I'm sorry?
I would come back to that again and yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The felt sense process of letting it teach you whatever it needs to teach you so then it can go.
Yes.
Thank you. Virginia.
I too felt extremely emotional during it and tried to analyze what was happening. And I think due to the losses, and so many lost the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And then before my husband died, he would have been 99 that year. And so mentally I was trying to prepare myself for the loss. And I think I have immersed myself in sadness
Mm.
and sorrow. And
Yes.
it's hard to be happy, even in situations when family members come over or whatever, that I should feel a joy. I should feel happiness at seeing them. I should feel happiness in different situations, but I'm so immersed in
Yes.
sadness
I hear you.
that I can't be happy.
Yeah. That, okay, watch your words though. Okay? Because to say I can't be happy, because you can.
I'm having trouble being happy.
Yeah. Okay. There. See, which gives you some hope there. Yeah. Because the brain will hear you say I can't, so you don't want to use those words. I can't. It's I'm having trouble being happy. Yeah. And acknowledging that sadness. And again, I would continue to have a dialogue with the sadness so that it's not you, not I am sad. To say sadness, use the language sadness is arising in me, or part of me is sad. Okay, because that can't be all of you. You have a body, you know the body that does things. You have perhaps other emotions that do come up and then they go away really fast. Um, so to say, because it can't be all of you, because who we are is love anyway. So to use the language, not I am sad, but sadness is arising. I feel sadness arising, or sadness, part of me is sad. Sadness is here, that kind of. So again, you can have a relationship with it rather than be immersed in it. Because it's really about developing a relationship and a wise relationship with our feelings.
I hear music.
In fact, I remember I've said this before about when my cat died, and I was overwhelmed. He was 16 years old. We had him for a long time. I was overwhelmed with the sadness, um, and I was having a really hard time not being able to put it away. And I Googled, how do you deal with strong emotions? I love Google anyway. And this woman named Gangaji showed up, and what she said was, if we are having a strong emotion and we're not able to put it aside for now, or to move on from it, or to do whatever we have to do, then that's because there's still a story attached to it. So I was like, oh, so all I have to do is stop telling myself those stories.
No.
So,
But you don't want to stop the memories of your friends and that passed.
right. And it doesn't mean stopping the memories. It's it's taking a break from the emotion. Now I can set it aside because I can stop the stories for now and do whatever I have to do. You see what I mean? Like that, like I remember trying that. So I remember walking into our great room and looking at the door, hoping that the cat would be there, and of course the cat wasn't. And then I was like really sad again, and I had made a promise to my husband that we would watch a TV show together. So I remember saying to myself, okay, I'm going to stop the story. I know the cat's not there. I really want him to be here, but I'm stopping the story, and I'm going to go focus on being with Michael. And so that's what I did. And it's like, I could do that. Because I had been walking around for days feeling this heaviness of sadness. So it takes practice, but to know you can do it.
May I share an example?
Sure.
Um, as a child, and I didn't find this out until I was 27. Um, I had been attacked by a child molester at 7, and when I discovered that it was a reality, it made sense regarding my history, and it was all very upsetting. And years later, I had the opportunity in my mind on a Toltec experience in Mexico to really truly forgive the molester.
Mm.
And the story became just a story with no emotion attached to it.
Mm. Mm.
So it used to be that I would tell the story and get very upset or angry or, all those strong feelings.
Right.
And once I was able to forgive him, it was the end of it.
Yeah.
So the memory is not gone, but the emotion is.
The emotion is gone. Yeah. Great. So yeah, so it's again, it's working with that. I'm noticing that we're over time, so I don't want to keep people if they need to go. Um, but I want to make sure that if anybody needs to or wants to share how the experience was for them, I will stay on. So whoever needs to go, I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll miss you, but and but at this point, I'd still like to just check in with people and see if there's anybody else who wants to share that experience or how it went for
I
you.
need, I need to go.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
welcome. Have a good week, Kit.
Thank you. You too.
So anybody else want to share?
Thanks a lot, Donna. This is Holly.
Hi.
I have to go too.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. I'll
Bye-bye.
pick this up again more next week too. So bye. Hal.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah. Because what I would like to do next week, because we're out of time, is to actually take time to stop, pause, and go inside and speak from my felt sense, which, and I won't hold you up this time, but I remember someone recently saying, it's okay if we can teach and get enough people to actually allow themselves while they're talking to pause and fumble with words because they're really coming from what's happening truly in the moment, then we're speaking authentically. Because most of the time we have some idea of what we want to say and we're trying to get to it. And we want to be clear because, our society supports us in being very clear. So, and not on trying to figure out exactly what's going on and being unclear. So that's the beauty of focusing on a felt sense, which is not clear until it comes into focus. Allowing yourself to it's a process. So, does anybody want to share anything or any questions? Yes, Dorothy.
I feel very exhilarated because, yes, the people came up and memories came up and everything, but all I could think of was letting go, letting go, letting go. And I always imagine a big cauldron with a hole in the middle and it's sitting on the earth. And anything I don't want to keep, I pour in there, and all these dumb ideas come up, and I say, okay, into the cauldron. I've had it. I don't want to. I don't want to bother with you anymore.
Oh, that's good.
And sometimes if you do it enough, you can get rid of stuff. But anyhow, I felt good because I felt like an inner cleanse going on, and I felt the whole body was letting go of some old stuff that I didn't need to carry anymore.
Oh,
So thank you.
I'm glad for that. Happy for that. Anyone else? Yes, Virginia?
I like the idea of what you said about taking the emotion and putting it into a box or a cauldron or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's going to take a lot of practice to put the sadness in there
Yes.
and to identify the sadness specifically and not have it envelop your whole body, but as a specific emotion
Yes,
that can be put in the box.
yeah, yeah.
I'm going to work on that.
Good, wonderful, wonderful. That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I learned that practice from 2 Jesuit priests, by the way. So,
Huh.
so anybody else have any questions or their experience? Dorothy?
Just one thing is that when you're sad, it's a very low frequency.
Hmm.
And when you're happy, it's a higher frequency. And you're much more susceptible to disease when your frequency is lowered.
That's true.
So it would be very helpful for when we do dip low like that. And I'm sure we all do during the day. I mean, it's normal to do that,
Right.
but to recognize it and then to try to elevate it,
Exactly.
at least to be peaceful, at least to be at that level.
Well, and that's what mindfulness is about, is acknowledging it and welcoming it. You're here. Okay, what's the message? Or do I not need it at all? And then goodbye. Set it aside. So you may want to set it in a box and mail it to the other side of the earth.
I like that.
Put it out in the mailbox for the mail lady to take.
Exactly. So, anybody else want to share that? Or any questions? Thank you. We'll be talking more about this next week then, and practicing. And if you are interested at all in learning the process even more, I mean, what we were doing sort of is like called auto-focusing. We were focusing by ourselves. Usually you learn it better if you do it in a group. I'm sorry, with another person. And Ann Weiser Cornell's website, she has a free 5-part course in it that you can take, and then you can also have a guided focusing session with her. So, and she's the author of The Power of Focusing, and also worked a lot with the founder of that process. So,
Would you send the link, please?
yes, I would be that definitely.
Thank
And I'll talk more about the founder and what it's about too.
you. I need to go.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you. It was great.
You're welcome.
Hi, Eileen.
Bye, Eileen.
Bye.
Love to you.
Thank you. To you as well.
So, anybody else want to share? It looks like Carol, you're unmuted.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, in addition to such a good hour with you, Donna, it's lovely to see everybody's faces, and it's nice to see Robert today.
Yes. Hi, Robert.
Hello.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Yes. We moved into the other side of the duplex at the end of July, and my back started really bothering me.
Oh,
So I upped seeing the surgeon, and then I got my surgery on the 24th last month,
oh,
Ooh.
and that made things even worse.
oh no.
The pain was terrible.
Oh God.
It was probably because I could only get narcotics once, because that dropped my blood pressure way down
Ooh.
while I was in surgery.
Oh God.
So the pain was pretty bad.
How are you now?
I'm better. After about a week, they had disrupted sympathetic nerves. So then my legs were all inflamed.
Yes.
So that's getting better now.
Is it? Oh, good.
The pain is almost gone.
It takes a while good. It takes a while for nerves to
Yeah.
heal. It really does. They're so sensitive.
So I was sitting and just in depression and sadness.
Oh,
And it was hard. I mean, my wife's working and I'm home alone and
and it gets worse if you're alone all the time, sure.
yeah. So that was good to hear your voice and see everybody and the presentation we went through. I'm going to have to do a lot of practice on that while I'm alone, that's for sure.
Well, that's why I'm sharing it, so we can.
Yeah.
practice. So practice,
Yes, thank you for that.
send me an email if you have questions about it, you know.
Okay.
One more thing, my stepson, Bill Kunz, has the COVID. So
Oh.
keep him in your thoughts if you can. He's about 50 and he's not real bad right now anyhow.
Okay.
He and his wife both had the same symptoms. She tested out negative, he tested out positive.
Oh, wow.
Figure,
That's sad.
She should get retested.
I think she may, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they've had so many negative tests that were positive.
Oh,
Good idea, Virginia.
Yeah, good idea.
I'm going to scoot, Donna.
Pardon me?
I'm going to scoot.
Okay.
Thank you. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye, all.
Bye.
Bye, Donna. Thank you.
Yeah, it looks like it's time to go. So
All right.
Everybody,
have a great.
Bye.
I'll
take
send-
care.
Okay.
Take care, everybody.
Stay healthy.
Yes, thank you. Yes, you too.